The galaxy had never known fear like this. For 3 centuries, the Dominion Navy had ruled the Spiral Arms, a force so vast its shadow alone could end wars. Millions of warships patrolled the stars, their hulls forged from neutron alloys, their cannons powered by captive suns. No enemy fleet had ever survived a direct engagement. Victory was assumed before battles even began. Then the first signal vanished. An entire patrol group disappeared near the Vieques expanse. No distress call, no wreckage, no energy signature. Command dismissed it as a navigational fault. Space was vast, mistakes happened. 2 days later, another fleet went dark. Then another. Each loss followed the same pattern: silence, absence, nothing left behind. Scouts sent to investigate found empty space, where thousands of ships should have been, as if reality itself had erased them. Panic crept into the halls of command, though no one dared speak it aloud. The Dominion mobilized its strongest armada, the First Eternal Fleet, a force meant to end galaxies if necessary. They advanced into the expanse in perfect formation, weapons charged, shields layered, sensors stretched across light years. That was when the stars began to flicker. Not explosions, not radiation bursts, but shadows, long shapes sliding between constellations, visible only for a heartbeat. The fleet commanders reported sensor ghosts, readings that contradicted themselves, ships appearing where space should be empty. Then the transmissions started. Old signals, centuries old, battle calls from wars long forgotten, distress messages from ships officially lost to history. Voices of dead admirals echoed across open channels, calm, patient, waiting. The first Dominion battleship split apart without being touched. No impact, no warning, its hull simply unraveled as if something passed through it and took the idea of solidity with it. Screams filled the comms as ship after ship suffered the same fate, torn open by invisible forces. The strongest navy in the galaxy had finally met something it could not fight. And it was already too late. As the First Eternal Fleet collapsed, Dominion analysts searched desperately for a pattern. They found one buried in forbidden archives, records sealed by unanimous command decree. A project erased from history, known only by a code name whispered in dread, the Phantom Initiative. Long ago, when the Dominion was young and afraid, it sought the perfect weapon. Not armor, not firepower, but inevitability. Ships built to exist half outside reality, phased between moments, immune to conventional attack. Crews volunteered knowing they would never return, their bodies rewritten by experimental drives, their minds anchored to something colder than space. The test fleet was launched and never came back. Declared lost, the project was buried, and the galaxy moved on. But the fleet had survived. Changed. The phantom ships learned to move through the folds between seconds, to drift through matter, to listen to the echoes of time itself. They did not age, did not sleep, did not forget. And they remembered who had abandoned them. Now they returned, not as weapons, but as judgment. They did not fire cannons or launch missiles. They simply passed through Dominion ships, unraveling atoms, draining energy, erasing presence. Where they moved, space remembered emptiness. Admirals tried to negotiate, broadcasting surrender offers, ceasefire codes, even apologies. The Ghost Fleet answered with silence. Not out of malice, but because the living spoke a language they no longer understood. Entire sectors fell in hours. Trade routes collapsed, stars went dark as defense platforms failed without ever detecting an enemy. Civilizations watched their protectors vanish and realized the Dominion had lied to them for generations. One by one, command worlds were surrounded by shadows only visible at the edge of perception. The Ghost Fleet did not invade planets. It waited, letting fear do the work. The strongest navy in the galaxy was not being defeated. It was being erased. Only one transmission ever came from the Ghost Fleet. It was not a threat. It was a memory, a recording of the final briefing before the Phantom Initiative launch. Young officers standing proud, believing they were saving the Dominion, believing sacrifice would be honored. Their voices overlapped with their present forms, distorted, layered, endless. We were sent to become monsters so you could sleep safely. We were told history would remember us. But you chose to forget. The message played on every channel simultaneously, even on ships already dying. Crew members wept as they recognized ancestors among the speakers. Heroes erased from textbooks now returned as something beyond mercy. Scientists finally understood the truth. The Ghost Fleet was not hunting the Dominion. It was correcting reality, removing the empire that should never have existed without betrayal. As the final core fleets gathered for a last stand near the capital star, commanders realized weapons were useless. Energy bled away, matter lost cohesion, time itself fractured under Ghost Fleet passage. The battle never truly happened. It simply ended before it could begin. The capital world watched its sky fill with shadows, millions of silent ships hanging like memories over the atmosphere. No shots fired, no bombardment. Then the Dominion Navy ceased to exist everywhere at once. Ships vanished from docks, from patrols, from hyperspace lanes. Records corrupted, databases emptied. It was as if the concept of the Dominion Navy had been removed from the universe. Centuries later, historians still argue whether the Ghost Fleet saved the galaxy or doomed it. Without the Dominion, old rivalries reignited, borders fractured, wars returned. But something else changed. No empire ever again built a weapon meant to be forgotten. No fleet was launched without honoring those who crewed it. The stars remembered what happens when sacrifice is buried. Deep in abandoned space, sensors still detect shapes drifting between moments. Not hostile, not protective. Watching. Travelers sometimes hear voices in the static, calm and distant. Warnings spoken without anger. Do not erase your sins and expect them to stay buried. Because somewhere between seconds, the Ghost Fleet is still listening.